Hello and welcome to the fourth installment of my blog on left hand position. I am Ethan Fiks. You'll notice I'm holding my electric today because we're going to get into some bending and vibrato. In the previous installments of this blog, we've kind of kept score between the advantages of playing with a square hand position and a more angled hand position, and I guess in some ways logically we landed more on the advantages of the square hand position in terms of being able to move the fingers independently and just being more able to execute difficult passages, or maybe even not difficult passages. I don't know, but if there is one place where the angled hand position shines, it is with bends and vibrato. Seems sort of like the reason people do this is so that they can really grab on and bend and push the strings with a good amount of strength. So yeah, when I grab the neck and I push up, let me turn my volume up here, there's no problem. I have plenty of strength behind it, and that's all good. On the other hand, like if you were taking me too literally and thinking you should always be very, very proper and always very, very square to the neck, and if you bend like this, it's not as strong there. It was even harder to get to pitch. It sounds more like a boing, like a rubber band, if you're just trying to push forward with your fingers. Same thing with vibrato. With the fingers alone, it can sound a little bit weak and rubber bandy, for the lack of a better word. Yeah, I hear a boing in there. And I don't think you see too many great blues players whose hand looks like that when they're bending. So going back to the angled hand position and kind of reconciling the two, what if you thought about it this way? What if you thought that you were starting with the angled hand position and bending to square? And in order to be angled and bend to square, you need to move your wrist, right? It's this kind of thing. The vibrato is really coming from the wrist rather than pushing the fingers. So square hand position is still making an appearance here, in that that is where you get to when you come around on a bend and get to the peak of the bend. But you're starting angled for more leverage and strength. Sort of like, let's see. Maybe I shouldn't keep my pinky under the neck. That's getting very casual too. But hey, it's blues. You can be more loose. So angled to square, angled to square. And also for vibratos, if you look at a great vibrato player, maybe classical is the only place you'll see really finger vibrato like that. Wrist vibrato, like Eric Clapton and countless other players use, has that real wallop behind it. I really like that walloping sound. It's very strong. It almost has a vocal quality to it, which is very cool because in some ways blues leads mimic the human voice, do they not? So that is something to keep in mind. I found with my students that a bunch of the time they have trouble exactly getting the difference between pushing with the fingers and cranking with the wrist. It's something that takes getting a feeling for, but it's moving back here. It's moving from the wrist rather than just way up front here from the fingers. So moving from the wrist. And to practice your bends and your vibrato, well, with bends you can use a tuner to really check your tuning and make sure that you're in tune. I also like to bend then slide, or slide then bend, so that I have a reference point as to where I am and the pitch that I'm trying to match. So like, or I could do a half step. So that's a great way to practice your bends and to work on getting them nice and in tune. Practicing vibrato, I think, is a matter of doing it, just really working it, you know, learning leads and songs that have vibrato, trying to mimic the articulation of different players, and even the articulation and vibrato of singers would be a good thing to try to emulate. And for all those purposes, I think the angled hand position, which is moving towards square, is my preference for where you want to be.